Hey, we're live.
Woo!
Woo! I love it. Well, hey, I'm Dave. I think you're Pete.
Pete,
What are we
yep.
doing here?
I was talking about people, what to do, what not to do, how to bring them together, what matters most, what to avoid, the important things.
I got you. I got you. Well, maybe we should introduce ourselves. I don't know who doesn't know us on LinkedIn, right? But just in
Know
case they
yourself.
don't, Pete, tell us who
How
you
about
are and what
this?
you do.
I'm going to tell them about you, and then you tell them about me. Maybe we'll do that next time.
How about next time? Yes. Put me on the
So,
spot.
hey everybody, I'm Pete Schramm. Love bringing people together. People changed my life. Grew up on a farm, built robots for the army, studied engineering. I'm 6'8" and got to play basketball all around the world, and really love building intentional connections. If you've met me, you know that that's kind of my jam. And when those around me are winning and succeeding, I'm winning. So it's all about the people.
Gotcha. I love it. I love it. I guess I'm up next. David Alto. What do I do? Well, what did I used to do? I used to be a multi-unit manager in the retail world for a very long time, training and developing, coaching, managing large teams until I stumbled upon this LinkedIn thing. Was looking for another job, found that I was good with a few other things. About 4 years later, I'm on here like on LinkedIn, really helping job seekers land those jobs quicker. I do a few other things, and maybe we'll discuss one of them at the end of the show. But that's a little bit about me.
Also, need to give a plug for David that he is an incredibly genuine person, loves helping people, and he's very giving of his time. I've known him for a couple of months now and have learned so much from him about what to do, what not to do on LinkedIn. Thanks, Corey, for bringing us together. And he knows his stuff. And whenever he says, like, hey, this is something that you might want to take a look at, he not only guides you through what to do, how to do it, but also the why to do it. So, David, thanks for helping me learn more, grow, and develop.
Oh yeah, no, I think I appreciate that. I think it comes from boy when I was on LinkedIn in early 2019. I was doing all the wrong things, and
Yeah.
more than plenty of people were able to lift me up. Even Corey and I got on a phone call in 2019, just a brief call, just talking about kind of what I wanted to do. I was still working my day job, but so many powerful influencers, people that just want, like you said, Pete, want to lift people up. And I really enjoy that. So now I enjoy sharing everything I learn. I don't think we have to, you know, hold it in tight. I think we can actually, share what we learn here. So.
So, hey, people are coming over here. They're trying to learn more about this employee connection thing and people connection. And the world's changed over the last couple of years, right? We're not all in the office. LinkedIn's becoming more and more prolific around the world. What is it? Almost a billion people that are here. And so, why don't we talk a little bit about how things have changed and how the need for connection hasn't really changed? It's become even more important.
It is, and we have lots of comments, and we'll get to them shortly. So we do have people here, even though I'm looking over here on my phone at us live, and for whatever reason, I'm not seeing the little counter like I normally do. So I can't tell how many people are here, other than in the comments. There's tons of comments. So if you have any questions while Pete and I are rambling along during this next 25 minutes, half hour show, make sure to put the comments
David,
in
can we
there.
safely assume it's somewhere between like 17 people and like 450,000?
Yes, well, LinkedIn has about 930 some odd million people. So, I mean, maybe a million or so probably are watching us, and maybe a second million will be watching us on the replay, obviously. All right, so recap that again, Pete. What you just said.
So it's all about the people, right? And we want to figure out how to keep these connections real and why it's so important to continue to invest in these intentional connections. A lot of people are focused on quantity over quality, but that's not really what you're looking for. right? That's not how we build relationships and grow over time. I started a company, Latitude, that's all about bringing people together in a real way. So this is something that means a lot to me. And as the workplace has shifted, priorities have changed, but we still need to find the who and learn the what.
Yeah, I think, listen, I was doing Zooms before Zoom was cool. And then COVID hit, and then everybody networking, doing everything via Zoom, right? Well, now, maybe we're tired of, seeing, getting on that video meeting, right? We're worn out. So, there is this amazing platform I've heard of before. I think it's called LinkedIn or something like that, that people have to realize that you can have genuine conversations. And I think that's what's missing. Maybe we can't, we're not going to the water cooler anymore because we're working remotely or half and half. And we don't get that human connection. Sure, we do via Zoom, but we still maybe we just don't. So but when we interact, engage with the content of others, not only are we learning more, about what they're sharing, but we're learning more about them. And maybe that's that little piece. I know for me, I've been working remotely even before, before COVID, and my wife, same thing. So we have learned how to intentionally build relationships online,
Yeah.
because if you don't, where else are you going to do that, especially if the commute is from your bedroom to the office, which is 30 feet away.
Yeah, and David, I'll tell you, there's not a whole lot of global networking taking place in rural Western Pennsylvania. So there are some great networking events, but lo and behold, surrounding the farm, there's not a ton of that. So developing new ways to connect virtually, I call it WFX, right? While you're working from anywhere, because we're not just working from home. People are traveling to other countries, other places, working from the beach, working wherever it is. Like, hey, as long as you can get your things done, more power to you. This is an opportunity for us to really put that work life integration, work life balance into play and set the expectations, set the goals, right? Talk, communicate with your leadership. And if you can do it, then go ahead, make it happen. Hopefully, there's a new exciting shift in your work geography in the next year and a half or so, right?
Yeah. We got less than a year countdown, because I'm in the same boat. Even though uh, the area that I live in is about 250,000, I've tried to do in-person events, and don't get a lot of don't get don't get a lot of help, a lot of interaction. It was good for the people that attended, but I was very surprised at the turnout, even though I really hustled to try to make it. So again, so if I live in Washington State, but I don't live anywhere near Seattle, I don't live anywhere near another major city. So how do you do that? Well, you have to, leverage where you're at, right? Well, 930 some odd million people on LinkedIn. It is a networking event, 24/7. So we did have one little question that maybe we could just pull up, and I don't know the person's name because it's saying LinkedIn user, but they're asking, how do I get my network to engage consistently? I guess, maybe that kind of segues from what I just mentioned. The city that I live in, I can't get the people to come together for, an in-person event. But, what if my peers, my direct reports, whomever, friends, relatives, I can't get them to engage consistently on LinkedIn? Maybe what should I do?
And I think the first piece is to understand what it is that you're trying to achieve. So, get my network to engage consistently. What does that mean? Is that watch your stuff? Is that comment? Is that like? Is that reply? Send you messages? So, first, figure out what good looks like and make sure that what you're saying is clear and concise and easy to understand. I am at fault for not doing that a lot of times, right? I asked some people like 2 weeks ago, I was like, hey, do you guys know what I do, what I'm all about? And most people came back and they're like, you got a little bit of work to do in that whole clarification thing. So as we wrap up here today, I'll share the refined and updated message. But David, like you said earlier, the how to gain from others is to first give to them. And you think back to, like, church, if you're religious or not, right? Give unto others, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Plain and simple, right? Be a good person, give to the world, and whenever you give, more will come to you. So what does that look like on this social media platform? And it's, like commenting, finding new people, right? Supporting them, growing them, learning from them. And how do we do that? Great question. We can do that by supporting what they're doing, right? Like their posts, ask them questions, right? Reply to people that comment on your things. It's not one size fits all, but there's a equation of what you do helps others kind of help you. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. I would add to LinkedIn user, it might be time to, not saying get rid of, but increase that circle of influence. It might be time for you to
Yeah.
find engaged people because, listen, my wife's on LinkedIn, but she very seldom even interacts with my content, or sees it, right, even though I'm
Yeah.
important to her, right? So it might be time to look for other people, whether it's in your industry or company or whomever, and go and find a few people and engage with their content, and you might end up expanding that network. Or it's okay to outgrow your network over time. So yeah, that's what that's what I'll leave that at. So
Yeah, I'd be curious what the other questions are around what engagement means to you, and if you guys put into the comments over here, what does that mean? And while we're waiting for some of those to come in, David, let's talk about some of the good things that come out of this. Right, whenever we're able to connect, build these relationships, and this stuff has gone right, what are some of the outcomes, the benefits, the results of goodness from the real connections?
well, yeah, do you have a story in mind?
Well, I think there's a lot of good items that can come from it, right? One, uh, you learn from other people. Whenever you expand your network, I mean, heck, 6 months ago, 7 months ago, I had no idea who you were. And then I started my journey on LinkedIn here, and I'm like, oh my gosh, who's this guy that like is teaching people about how to do this, teaching people how to get ready for their next step professionally, teaching people about how to present themselves so that they're desirable for their next phase of their professional journey. I'm like, oh my gosh, I think it was PJ who initially said, hey, you should talk to that David guy. And then we hopped on a phone call and I was like, hey, thanks, PJ. David's a pretty cool guy. So you can learn from others. You can build your network. I think there's a big piece of finding diverse perspectives and different lived experiences. And that's not something that you can get in your daily bubble typically. And so to widen your perspective and to enhance your outlook and the way you look at things is super valuable. And, side note, I'm always learning, right? People are always sharing things in this community, outside of this community, that I'm kind of like, oh, I didn't know about that. Help me think about things in a different, frame of mind, different perspective.
I think back to when I had large teams and traveled over a territory, going to different locations and training and developing people. It was always what's missing, finding out what they needed, implement that, and then if it was missing or they were struggling at that location, it's probably safe to say that maybe it was at that other location. So you have to share your knowledge. You share your knowledge as a leader. Well, on LinkedIn, everybody really can be that leader. Everybody can be that thought leader, regardless of time and position or how long you've been on this platform. We're all subject matter experts about various things. So that's why I enjoy learning from Pete, learning from the people that are in our circle, because even if they do something totally different, I'm learning something new about a different industry. Like blockchain, you might as well call it You might as well call it some. You might as well call it whatever. I know nothing about it, but when I get to hear it simplified, whether it's in a video or just in a post, but when I get to understand, you know, it's really just the core of what it is, then I just then I broaden my just horizons. Say I broaden my knowledge, even though I might not be in that industry or whatnot, but we all learn more by asking questions and really actively listening. And you can do that here on LinkedIn. And I know we're going live on YouTube and Facebook, but LinkedIn is really the platform where you can nurture those relationships.
Yeah. So take it one step further, right? How does that impact you as an individual? And some of the things that I've learned about over the last couple of, well, years now is around the sense of belonging. And especially while we're not all in the office consistently, we're not all around our teams as much as we used to be. Maybe yes, maybe no. But how can we continue to build those relationships, find new people, and say, hey, there's no longer this sense of being alone together. We may still live in this I society, but we can form these relationships. And I think LinkedIn is a great place to start. And then there are ways to continue to build and have conversation continuity to continue to build on that, right? What are the goals of our relationship? I was talking to you about the book a little bit earlier, right? That's more news coming in the next month and a half or 2 months about that, guys. But it's really about kind of what am I looking for? What am I trying to achieve? Is it numbers? Is it sales? Is it learning? Is it feeling that sense of community? Because we don't have to do this thing alone.
You are absolutely correct. And I think this will help. We have um, responding to that question. Engagement is responding to someone's post, not just a reaction, just a thumbs up or commenting for, reach. It means taking the time to share and even developing a conversation. You know, Look, Pete, sometimes I might not have the time to engage with your post, and maybe it doesn't resonate with what I'm going to say or what you're saying today. So I may say, hey, I appreciate this. I might take a look at it later. But when somebody, especially a new connection, or a newer connection or a second or third degree connection, really puts some thought into it. I feel like I owe, I listened, meaning I read it, and I owe that person, I know I don't owe them, but I feel the ownership of commenting and really making sure that they were heard. And I know when I comment, I'm not going to always hear back from the author of the post, but when they really have gained something from it or shared an experience, well, sharing an experience, geez, if you and I met for coffee or virtually via Zoom, we would share our experiences, right? What we're doing, talk about your book, we would talk about me moving or whatever, right? So, when that person has really put that thoughtful, comment. So to get some traction on LinkedIn, that's some of the things you can do if you don't post much. You can just engage with the content, meaningful, engagement. And if it doesn't resonate with you, but the person does, then maybe you say something. But if that post really resonate with you, put a very thoughtful comment in there, and then you're going to see the interaction. In fact, you might even see interaction between the other people that are commenting and engaging with your post.
Yeah, and a couple of things that I've learned over the last, well, this was just in the last few months actually, is what does a meaningful comment look like? And if there's any, other experts on here, please build on this in the comments. But it's 5 or more words, and if you really really like what's going on there, then you'll tag that person again in your comment. And if you really absolutely love this and you want to give it the most points, if you will, as possible, then you'll reshare that post, right? It's really resonating with you. You're like, hey, I love what's going on here. And to take it one step further, David, what I've started to do is whenever I find those kinds of people, Richard Rosenau's one on people analytics, I say, hey, anytime he's talking about something, I want to hit the bell and let me know anytime something comes up, because he's a thought leader, right? There's a couple of other individuals that I'm like, these are my kinds of people, and I want to continue to learn from them on a consistent basis. So I'm able to go to my notifications and I see boom, 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 who has been doing this. And it's a way to sort of help utilize the tool to the max, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, 100%. And you know what? For me, it really depends on, in the moment, am I busy? I'm still on LinkedIn if I'm not helping a client or whatever. But it really depends. But it's something that if I pick up something that sparks something, then I'm all in. I'm committed. I'm sharing experience or a best practice, or really giving some kudos to that person that took the time to put that post together. So when when it makes you just light up, that's when fire off. And most authors of those posts will engage, and they do appreciate it. But that's when relationships start. Almost every single true relationship I've made on LinkedIn is because of that engaging on somebody's post. It wasn't just I saw somebody and say, hey, you want to set up a Zoom? No, it's been engaging over time and getting to know them.
The other piece of it is the more people you meet, the more people you're able to connect. So as you're going through this exploration journey and figuring it out, refining the algorithm, right? Liking the things that resonate with you, spending more time in certain places. And some of this I'm just guessing on, but I've seen how my feed will continue to refine, focus whenever I look at things like employee engagement, mentorship, workplace of the future, the things that are really about the people. And as I, see some of those insightful things up there, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. And I've probably tagged you a couple of times, like,
Oh
David,
yeah.
check this out. PJ, check
Oh yeah.
this out. Tara, check this out, right? Manda, look at this thing. Because they may not know about that. And that's where it gets to be really, really cool. Of no matter where we ourselves are geographically, we're able to access, like you said earlier, this 24/7 networking event. And even at networking events in person, I'm a big fan of meeting the different people around the room and then saying, okay, now it's time to, you and you should have a conversation together, you and you should have a conversation together, you and you. And that's part of what I've built with my business. But it's a big piece about, hey, how do we continue to give unto others and help them? And I think it's a Steve Covey quote, right? Add value to people's lives, and then the money and the other results will come later.
Yeah, you're quoting my favorite author. Let's see here. I want to just share one other thing here. Had some just saying hello and hello to you. So earlier, and I think this person's meaning, years ago, LinkedIn had a lot of posts on business and subject that made sense to businesses. Nowadays, there's all kinds of posts, although interesting. Yes, because boy, Pete, if you and I only talk to business, maybe we're friends or relatives, whatever. I know my wife doesn't want me to just talk about business when I'm off work, right? So LinkedIn is developed into think of it as a networking event. You're not always going to talk about business. You might talk about your kids. You might talk about your dog, whatever that you got going on a trip, whatever. So LinkedIn can be whatever it wants. Whatever you want it to be. I know you and I probably get this once in a while, like that post that you just did, that video doesn't belong on LinkedIn. Well, okay, then how come it got 500,000 views? How come it got 1,000,000 views, right? So it does, because people just don't want to see the same thing over and over and over again. If I just put a picture of me all the time, or just a people like a little bit of variety, so we have to give them that,
Yeah.
and don't assume that everybody's here just to do business.
And I also think that the quality will vary from person to person, and it's not all great. I'll, agree with that comment. I don't know who said that. Deep D. Yeah, I hope that's how I say your name the right way. But you're right. It has changed, and there's more people in this community, and there's more people at this networking event. And I've probably put things up where people are like, I don't really resonate with that. That's not really my jam. Maybe I take a selfie video walking around in nature or something and talk about something that folks are like, I don't want this in my life. Right. Sometimes you might see a video of uh, geography and somebody that's like flying through the mountains or something. You're like, whoa. And you read the words in the post. It talks about soaring to new heights and exploring new challenges and opportunities in life. And I just try to get like one small thing out of it. And again, it's not one size fits all, but it's one of those things of how do we all share our own voice and make it possible to inspire, motivate, innovate, right, with this community, with this global network in new ways. And I think that goes back to marketing. I'm no marketing guru by any means, but it's how do you get people to pause? How do you connect with them? How do you make them think or feel a little bit differently? And always staying genuine and authentic to who you are.
100%. There's enough people on LinkedIn to find, you don't have to like everything, but there's enough that if you're active and you're engaged, you will you will find your tribe, I
And I think
guess.
being persistent and consistent, right? Not
Oh,
going all
yes.
over the place, right? So you have a couple of things that you talk about. I have a couple of things that I talk about.
Yes.
And it's been a journey, right? It's been a journey learning about these different uh, pieces. Am I going to work with, viral content? Am I going to work with the true voice? Am I going to meet somewhere in the middle? And, there's a process. And I'd say if anybody's like kind of curious about how to get better at this game, talk to David, right? Reach out to him and be like, hey, what do you think's going on over here? I see you popping up a couple of other comments here.
Oh yeah, there are just more, just some insights. I know we're getting closer to, that time, and we'll we got to end with Kenny.
Hey.
Kenny from Sugarland, Texas. Kenny and I have been connected for a very long time. Kenny, the offer is still, there if you ever want to come on one of my lives. I haven't gone live in quite a while, Pete. It's been since the beginning
We're
of the
pulling
year.
you out of live retirement. There we go. Nice.
Right? Gotta convince Kenny to go live there.
Kenny,
So
thank you for those kind words. That really means a lot. And I appreciate that. And that's kind of my purpose, right? Is to inspire potential and ignite opportunities for those around me so that they can achieve what they really need in life.
I do truly believe that I have developed friendships with people, even though I may not get to ever physically be in the same room with them. I do. We live in a global society that just might not happen. Now, if I'm somewhere in a different city, I'm always trying to make sure that I'm looking up people beforehand, trying
Yeah.
to schedule, a coffee or something or a meeting with them, because then you really, really, nail that. Even if you don't see them, even that one meeting can really solidify that relationship.
One of the other items I want to hit on, David, is around all this connection stuff, feeling good. It's not just lip service. These are basic human needs. And if we look to Maslow's hierarchy, we have connection on there, we have belonging on there towards the top. So these are things that whenever we get this right, it helps create more of, manufacture more of these positive brain chemicals, more of the good, less of the bad whenever we feel this. And like you said, hey, maybe we're not able to meet in person or do this the real way or the way it used to be done, but something's better than nothing in most of these instances. And we can translate a lot of that into the workplace as well.
100%, 100%. Hey, before we talk about next week, what we're doing next week, anything new going around in Pete's life? What's some fun you have?
Fun things. So I have been recovering from an ankle injury, and I
Oh,
started playing basketball again. So that's a good thing. The team is growing at Latitude even more and more. We've refined our elevator pitch, so I'll try it on for size here, right? Latitude's an employee retention and connection software that helps employees build out their personal board of advisors so that organizations can amplify well-being, productivity, and belonging. It's all about the people. Measure where we are, give recommendations, and implement sustaining practices. The last thing I'd say, David, is the first draft of my next book is going to the publisher tomorrow. So wish me luck as we get very little to no sleep tonight, wrapping things up, and more to come on that soon, everybody.
all right.
What about
So,
you?
well, I got this thing in the mail the other day. So every year I do walk for Alzheimer's, right? Raising
Yeah,
money. This year I started a lot earlier than I normally do. And got this in the mail, the grand champion, because I've raised over a certain amount of money. They don't give this to somebody that's raised $10. So have a few more months to try to reach the next echelon, and then the walk will be sometime in no October. October. So
okay.
anyway,
Where's
what
the walk
else?
take place?
Well, the walks are throughout the nation, throughout the world. I mean, if you live in a community, there is a walk. I live in Kennewick, Washington, so we usually have it by the river. We usually walk a mile,
Yeah.
all wearing our Alzheimer shirts that they give us to wear, and raising. So the walk is like the final kind of get together, that kind of team building for the money that we've raised throughout the year.
And if we want to get more involved, did you do a post or will you do a post about this?
Oh yeah, I'll put a link. But yeah, and then you'd be able to. That website will show like your community.
Yeah.
Obviously, you could donate to mine, but no. But if you wanted to start your own, oh yeah, I'll put a link just to the main website where then you can find out where that walk might be in your city. Yeah, super easy. Oh, and then I'll share one last thing. There's this website called Cameo that mostly like B and C and D list actors are on, where they'll do funny videos for you.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they saw that I had a few followers on LinkedIn, so I just started doing, and I did a pretty fun one for somebody that was loud quitting the other day, and that was quite interesting. So
That's awesome, dude. Congratulations. That's
my
pretty
little,
cool.
oh yeah, it's just it's something fun. It's something fun to do. So, and I'm all about you gotta love what you do, and you gotta have, you can't take yourself too seriously either. So I'm more excited about your book, because I know I put out a book a few years ago. It was really small, probably not as complex as yours is. So I can't wait to pick yours up, and I'm sure we'll talk more about it.
Yeah. Hey, what's coming next week?
What is coming next week? What are we talking about next week?
So next week we'll talk a little bit more about the nitty gritty on LinkedIn and what it means to be a job seeker, to learn from others. If you're trying to sell a product, right? What to do, what not to do. If you're trying to build your network, and who knows, maybe we'll even do some screen sharing as we go through this. But really walking us through today was kind of high level and talking about the why this connection stuff is so important. But now we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the how and more of the what next week.
Okay.
And
I
who
love doing
knows,
screen.
add some
I
more
love screen
questions.
share. Oh, I love
Yeah.
screen sharing during these lives. That's fun. No, Kenny says that I need to stand in line because Kenny's got a million people that want him to appear live. So all right. Savor the flavor. Everybody know if you don't know Kenny, you need to know Kenny. But everybody knows Kenny. It's so funny. No, it's again, you can have real relationships with people on LinkedIn if you just reach out, if you engage, and obviously we might be talking a little bit more about that next week. Are we wrapping this up? Is this it?
That's all I have. We're abusing and disrespecting people's time. 5 minutes over. Thanks everybody for joining in. Excited to get better next week. Share your thoughts, share your comments. Always looking to improve, and let's keep changing the world for the better and bringing the right folks together at the right time for the right reasons.
I like it. And Pete, next week we will introduce how people can win something valued at over or close to $2,000. But we're going to introduce that next week. And I believe next week's is going to be an audio event.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, look for that. Make sure you're following Pete. Follow me if you want. Make sure you're following Pete and look for next week's event. Thank you, everybody. Have an amazing rest of your week.
Bye-bye.